Hello, my name is Quinn Moore,
And I am Michael Boom.
and we decided to do our final Ukraine project over Mykola Lysenko, who was a famous Ukrainian composer known for classical music, and he influenced a lot of composers after his time by his music choice and style. And he's also not only known for a composer, but he's also known to be a pretty good teacher as well.
So, first thing we're going to talk about is his background. Lysenko was born March 22nd, 1842. He was born in Horenki in the Kremenchuk County in Poltiva Gubernia, which is a former USSR region. His family was an aristocratic Cossack Starsenia. He learned how to play the piano from his mother, and found his love for Ukrainian music from his grandparents. He studied at Kharkiv University and Kiev University, getting his degree in the natural sciences. His time in Kiev and the Hromada of Kiev, an organization committed to Ukrainian culture in the time of Russian occupation, led him to find further love for Ukrainian music and led him to want to spend all of his time studying and mastering his craft.
Okay, so on this next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about Mykola Lysenko's music. So anyway, he is really known as the father of modern Ukraine classical music. He's probably the biggest one Ukraine has ever had, and a lot of his music is known around the world. And something I found super interesting is that he's known for several types of music. Some of his music consists of vocal music and piano music, which involves sonatas and rhapsodies. And one of his pieces of work is called A Song Without Words, which is pretty famous. We might play it later. Another type of music he's known for is chamber music, which is kind of like strings. And then everyone knows what opera is. And then he likes to write songs about art. As you can see, he has over 120 songs about art. And then finally, he's also known for a bunch of Ukraine folk songs. And these type of songs are focused on tone and harmony. He's got over 500 total songs in this category. And his folk pieces helped start a national movement for Ukraine music.
Next, we're going to talk about Mykola's most famous works. So probably his most famous piece that he wrote is the Dumka Shumka. This is the most well-known piece that he has, and it's what really made him famous. Next is the Song Without Words, which is a piano piece. It's really beautiful. It's actually my favorite piece. And next we have the Nocturne in B-flat major, another famous piece by Mykola, and that is a classical music. And now I'm going to play a little bit of the Song Without Words because I think it's quite beautiful. Next, I'm going to talk about Lysenko's music and drama school. So after graduating university, he moved to Kiev, and a few years later, after practicing his craft more and more, he decided that he wanted to open up a music and drama school. So in 1904, he opened it in Kiev. It was actually funded by Lysenko supporters who were going to buy him a house, and instead he chose to send the funds to a music school instead. The school's main curriculum was focused on music, but it also had a separate branch for drama. It had another part of it which included a Ukrainian folk instrument museum. So for the first 8 years of its existence, it was directed by Lysenko himself, and then after about 8 years, his daughter took over. Some famous grads from the school include Kirilo Stensenko, Alexander Kostyets, and Lev Revtusky. Today, it's a cinema and television university and is no longer the Lysenko Music and Drama School.
Okay, so on this final slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about his legacy. So he sadly passed away November 6th in 1912, and he passed away in Kiev, Ukraine. And that's where he lived at the time. And I know that his house is now a museum, actually, like where he last lived. And it's probably one of the most popular museums in Ukraine. So anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about his impacts. So his music style was immense for subsequent Ukraine composers. I looked up some of the composers and listened to their music who was impacted by Mykola. Yeah, I could definitely tell how his work influenced theirs. And then the next impact is that he's one of the most important influencers for Ukraine music today. So any type of classical music that's still composed today, obviously Mykola was a great influence on that. And then the Mykola Lysenko International Music Competition was founded about like 50 years after his death, and it was named in his honor, and it's a big competition in Ukraine where a bunch of music is published and where people come out and listen. It's a great time. So in Kiev, there was more than 20 volumes in of his work were published, and I know some remain there, and you can go see in like the museum and things like that. So if you're ever in Ukraine, I highly recommend going. So as you can see, Mykola still to this day has several impacts. Thank you so much for listening. These are our sources.